5 days away from getting it done. Definitely apprehensive. Why am I so awkward on this? Done live TV for fuck's sake. Anyway, a little journey into how I started with my hair and the issues with it. Completely natural thing. Let's first just put it out there. And it is just down to people's choice. From the age of about 16, I started to lose my hair. So did my brother, who's about 3 to 4 years older than me. And he was further along that journey. And I remember vividly him coming to me and saying, this is going to happen to you. And bearing in mind, this is a point where I was probably the lowest I have ever been as a person, struggling to come to terms. I know this isn't hair transplant related, but this is just gives a bit of a backstory about my experience with hair loss, and maybe yours as well. I was 16. I knew I was gay. I wasn't ready to face that, let alone face the fact that I'm gonna have to be facing this with my hair falling out. I struggled a lot, and I researched everything: propecia, finasteride, minoxidil. I started with the Costco kit. I then started taking saw palmetto because of the risks with finasteride. Spoke to family and my mum first, and that definitely held me back from jumping on the finasteride wagon sooner. I took saw palmetto for probably about a year or 2 years and did not see any benefit. I continued to lose my hair really rapidly. My crown was deteriorating so fast. My hairline was just going back and back and back. The hairs were becoming vellus, they were becoming thin. I had so much hair shedding, and I was petrified. Also with those years, it wasn't then by the age of 17 I was then comfortable with myself. That only really happened probably a few years ago. I'm 30. So I always knew a hair transplant was something that I wanted. And there was about 20, one really thing that I remember, one of my first experiences intimate with someone. I remember them pointing out to me very kindly while touching my hair, saying, your hair, it's really thin. And I know anyone watching this, you're either going through hair loss or interested about preservation or hair loss help. I would just like to say right now, my heart goes out to you, fully understand how you're feeling. Worse and more than anyone else, the fact that it's almost societally acceptable. When people shave their hair, people call them bald. No, shaved hair. And I always make it a thing to correct people and say, no, they just shaved their hair. Even if I know that person is losing their hair and they've done it for that reason, they've shaved their hair and it suits them. Not they're going bald. It's just about just saying things a bit kinder. Yeah, that moment just made me, already at a low point, even lower. I decided to up the ante and go on to, let me go back on my steps. Why? Because I don't want to run into anybody. I took the dive and went to the doctors to ask for a prescription for finasteride. It has to be private, of course. And I started finasteride. I was petrified about the risks. I would advise anybody watching this who is into looking at hair loss prevention or keeping the hairs that they've got. It is an incredible, wondrous medication, and my content and my channel and my videos are never here to purposely influence anyone in any way. This is purely to open the conversation and provide my experience, the good, bad, the honest, because I really do feel like I could help a lot of people with that experience that I've had. And I may as well have gone through it all if I can help someone else. And that is also why with my channel, with skincare, with body stuff, with everything, even lifestyle, I really do aim to do that. Finasteride, do your research. Something I did at first when it was less expensive, but definitely still a premium, is I went for propecia. I went for the named brand version of finasteride, which is the drug, medication. And I, after a few years, then went on to generic, which basically means it is still finasteride, but it hasn't got a brand on it. I always took the 1 tablet versions. I know some people can save costs by cutting larger ones, but it's something that I wanted the ease of use, and that was worth paying slightly more. I knew at that point I am going to need to be on this for the rest of my life to maintain the hair and to hold the hair loss. That was it. I never turned back. I was so anxious about the side effects. I was so worried about what could happen. There are so many contraindications. There are so many risks that you can get from taking such medication, which is why I imperatively tell you to do your research before. But it was okay. And there we go. During those 10 plus years now, I have had probably 7 or 8 consultations with hair transplant companies. I met one when I was younger. I think it was just when I moved to London, 24 maybe, and they actually turned me down. Said that I needed to be on the medication for longer, that they don't believe that that is a sufficient case to do it. Then I started my research more into going overseas. We all need to go to the place that we see ourselves going. And if you've seen case studies, whether it is in the UK or somewhere else, and that is perfect for you, this channel and these videos are not here to judge that. This is to talk about the procedure and my experience. Looked into that, it was cheaper. I've had a consultation with any company from overseas, but they were always the content that I would see more of. And then I just took a break from it. Life was very busy. I focused on my career more. Probably the past 2-3 years, I've definitely been a lot more active in terms of looking at getting one, but due to what I did for work, with live shows being imminent within a week, with having a very public facing job, I knew the aftercare and the healing just wasn't gonna fit my lifestyle at that point, my professional lifestyle at least. So it needed to be at a time where I was more able to really cordon off, call me James, to fit this into my calendar, what I'm doing. I can kind of pause projects that I'm on for now. I can edit content I previously filmed. I can kind of do this. It was really nice to go into this search, and I looked at 5 different companies, and I met with 2 surgeons, and I went for the best choice for me. I chose a surgeon who I felt would provide me the result that I really wanted. They were both drawn on perfectly, but the option I went for was slightly more rounded, much better quality. So when you tense your forehead like this, so for all the trolls who thought I had Botox, this is for you. I'm just talking about trolls, not you guys. Hopefully people watching these videos are much kinder. We're all in the same boat, and we're all in it together. And I'm not gonna mention that reference. So yeah, I'm basically wanting to, you can see there now, this was the bit that receded a lot. I used to have a much heavier hairline. If it wasn't for finasteride, potentially minoxidil, it's debatable whether that's that effective, but I didn't want to take the risk and not use it. If it wasn't for that, the hair behind where I'm going to get transplanted would never be this thick, would never have been this healthy, wouldn't even exist there anymore. And that was the biggest reason as to why it was so important that I knew a hair transplant could be down the line, but almost do everything right beforehand, similar to surgeries such as facelifts. So similar to with a hair transplant, you really don't just want to use that as your, this is it, this is going to solve everything, because it won't. It will do as stated, should you do it properly, with the right people, with the right aftercare, but you still need to look after the hairs. Any hair on the top is susceptible to DHT, and that is the dihydrotestosterone, which is the hormone that likes to attack our much wanted hair follicles. So to make sure that they are preserved as much as possible and to reduce the need for such a extensive hair transplant, it's important to. if you're watching this and your hair loss is at a different stage, this isn't to shame or to guilt. So many things in life we always wish we started earlier. It's just the way it is. So wherever you are at the journey, you can still help. Getting to an inspirational speech here, forgive me. But it just, wherever you're at now, it's usually and mostly only gets worse if you want to see it that way, or progresses. I'm not saying hair loss is worse to get to make it bad, but if you're watching this video, you're probably wanting to keep your hair. So it's really about preservation first, understanding why you're losing hair, looking at your options with a professional, get many, and then more opinions. Professional first, and then secondly, maybe ask people around you that have your best interest at heart. Ask for their opinion, trust a different person's opinion, and be ready to take it, I guess. But again, like with hair loss, we are always our toughest critics. We probably can't hear worse said to us than we sometimes say ourselves or feel ourselves. That's how I felt anyway. So yeah, I'm going to be documenting the whole journey. I've turned down the possibility of having this sponsored or having some help in terms of the costs or having it filmed for me, but I stated I want full rights, I want full control of that, and to truly do that and to give you a unbiased opinion, I'm gonna do this on my own, similar to how you would do it. The only difference is, perhaps, I'm going to be filming it and you can follow the journey with me and we can learn together. I don't know how it's going to go. Hopefully, oh man, not hopefully, you can probably feel the apprehension in the video maybe so far, but I'm incredibly nervous, I'm incredibly apprehensive, I'm scared, but I'm also proud of myself for getting to this stage. It felt really nice to hear that I did the right things before getting a hair transplant and that my hairs were healthy. Saying that to my younger self, I wouldn't have believed it. I really thought I'm screwed. So that was a big thing for me, and this is a big thing for me, and it no doubt is a big thing for you. Hope you've enjoyed watching this video. Don't know if it will ever see the light of day. Yeah, just wanted to kind of document how I'm feeling and thoughts before doing such a thing.